In a corporate world where all employees have great leaders with no egos that create fun cultures where people can do their best work, the employees and companies thrive while doing great things for the customers, themselves, and each other.
Well, we know that rarely happens. I'm Jeff Palacio. I have been a leader for over 40 years for every t-shirt size company, from small 16 employees to extra large over 1 million. Please join me while I interview outstanding leaders that will share stories of great leadership and not so great. It will help you become a better leader while poking fun about all the crazy shit that happens in corporate America. Ever feel like growth is exposing cracks in your operations? Manual tasks slowing you down? Systems that don't talk to each other? Fluent Consultants helps businesses like yours clear those roadblocks with tailored strategies, customized solutions, and AI-powered automation that accelerates your growth instead of holding it back. Don't just take our word for it. One Fluent client cut their processing time for one task from 12 hours to 30 minutes with no added staff. Find out how Fluent can help your business scale smarter. Learn more at fluent-consultants.com/corporate couch. That's Fluent Consultants, FLUENT-consultants.com/corporate couch, all one word. Welcome to a special edition of the Corporate Couch. These episodes will be more of a love seat that focuses on one topic and will run 15 to 30 minutes. For each special edition episode, you will hear from one or more outstanding leaders sharing their expertise on the most important challenges in corporate America today. Welcome to another special edition of the Corporate Couch podcast. I'm very excited about today because we're going to talk about a hot topic, using AI to scale your business. And we have two great guests. We have Greg Deitch, the CEO of Fluent Consultants, and the president of Fluent, Jeremy Stevens. Greg and Jeremy, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Greg, why don't you just tell a little bit about what Fluent does?
Yeah. So we empower small and mid-sized businesses to use technology more effectively. So, really, tech isn't for just big organizations. And if you're not using it, you're leaving money on the table and really impacting your scalability. We're a little different than other technology firms in that, we take a business first approach and we focus more on the software and data side rather than on the sort of the servers and networks. So really helps to kind of create that strategic plan and get your software right for growing your business.
So yeah, I think most people know about ChatGPT, Claude, and other AI applications. How can AI help solve business problems and optimize operations?
So like you mentioned, there's ChatGPT, which everyone is fairly familiar with. And that can help people do things like create blogs, create job postings. And those are very helpful. But one of the things that we start looking at when using AI is how can it take on a broader use within your business or your organization. One of the things that we get into is looking at how to take your data and your information, the AI leverage that to help create things for you or automate tasks that you might otherwise have to do to help scale your business forward. A common thing that is in all these AI engines is what's called language model. And so ChatGPT's language model is really focused on what's publicly available in the internet. And then we look at how do we take a language model and take your data and information into it so it can be used for you.
Yeah, obviously, like companies like Walmart, Amazon, big companies are using AI. Is there really affordable options down market for small and medium-sized businesses?
The really typical path is for new technologies to be adopted first by the big players, the Amazons, the Walmarts, as you said, whether it's, accounting systems or big data, e-commerce. The big companies adopt it first, and then maybe a few years later, it trickles down to small and mid-sized companies. And certainly there's a lot of that being done right now. These giant companies are leaders in that. But AI is a little bit different because, and this is a big part of the excitement, is that players like, OpenAI and Microsoft and Anthropic are developing their tools to be more like utilities. You can tap into those things, for almost anybody can do it. And that allows them to scale down to serve companies, that are smaller pretty quickly and pretty affordably. And so, this allows those smaller companies to, somebody who has some innovative ideas, tap into those tools, do some pretty incredible things, even now. So while this isn't something that a company should be waiting for a few years to see how things shake out, while there will certainly be a lot of advances over the next few years, there's a lot that a smaller mid-sized company can take advantage of today. And, I would argue that there's a lot of risks to waiting too long to start experimenting with it.
So in terms of automation, how does AI help optimize operations, supply chain, workflows? How does that happen?
So there's a few ways that come to mind. One of those is it can be a double checker. So one of the things that humans are not that great at is we always talk about people in a very technical way as humans. They have difficulty in making sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed. And this is AI's home court. It's what it does very well. One of the things that can be done with AI is, in terms of task automation, is reviewing things that have been done to make sure that everything's in the right spot. It's a double check for accuracy. In companies that deal with a lot of detail-oriented processes, it can be a big lift. The other area is access to information. We talked just a moment ago, talked about how we could take your information and make it available to an AI. One of the things that can help with that is quick access to things that you might need to know. So if you have say a large catalog of products, or you have a lot of manuals or a lot of documentation, those all can be put into a language model and then easily accessed. So it's almost like an assistant that you can ask about, what you need to know to do next. Things that may not be available on the internet, but they can be available because you have them.
I love the word double check. I guess I've been using AI most of my life because my wife double checks everything I do. So, no, yeah. So, other examples do you have in terms of how it's actually being used to automate, routine tasks like data entry, or even in the customer support space?
A classic example that I think is easy for a lot of people to conceptualize would be, automating the processes around accounts payable. So if you think about most organizations, you've got dozens, hundreds, even thousands of invoices coming in every month that need to be paid. And the accounts payable clerks look at those, they look at the amounts that's owed, who's the vendor, all those other kinds of things. Those kinds of things are what AI is really good at. So you can feed an invoice to an AI system, and it's smart enough to recognize, that this bit of text up here is the vendor, this bit of text over here is the amount that's owed. And you can even interact with your accounting systems to then take that extracted information and post it in. So you can get a lot of efficiencies in that area. Another area that's a really good one is data analysis. Being able to take masses of data, crunch it, and then just be able to show you examples without writing huge amounts of business intelligence software to be able to do that. One other example that I think would be a really good one is like in HR and in the recruiting functions for HR. So using AI to create job descriptions, develop interview questions for those job descriptions, create the job posting that you put up online, compare candidates, score them, other kind of routine tasks. AI is really good at doing that. It helps to speed up things a lot.
Yeah, and I spent vast majority of my career in predictive analytics or sales and marketing, and it's just amazing what you can do, and just throw data in, say analyze this data for me, which before you're building a bunch of models and things like that, and it's amazing. I love the customer experience and always focusing on that and improving that. How does AI help in that area?
So one of the common ways is something we probably all experience when you go to a website and you get the little chat bot in the bottom. The real power of those is, again, having it be aware of what you do as a company, so that when a customer asks questions to the chatbot, you get real answers back. You get more helpful things that can really take less time from your folks. And the goal is not to create a distance between you and your customer. It's really about giving them the information they need as quickly as possible, and then letting the harder questions come to the people that really know how to answer them. Another area that AI can be used is personalization in a lot of different ways, knowing what your customers, how they've interacted with you, what kind of orders they've placed, what complaints they've had. It can craft answers that are aligned to those touch points. And that can be something that's very helpful, that people may not remember exactly what happened, but AI can. and be leveraged in that way. One of the things I would say is there's an adoption curve with AI. You know what, AI has made a lot of inroads in terms of adoption and usage in the past few years through tools like ChatGPT. Been around for quite some time, and there's certain levels of comfort with it. So one of the things is to make sure that you use it in a way that your customers will accept and adopt, but also be looking at a roadmap to how you can keep using it in the years to come and get yourself prepared to get there.
So, a lot of things we've talked about up till now has been, kind of front lines, data analytics. What about how does AI help in terms of the kind of the business leaders of the company?
One of the things AI is really good at is distilling information down. And so that makes, getting insights from documents or data, easier than ever. It can take data from spreadsheets, or a database, summarize those insights, from that data. It can also really quickly summarize large documents, give you their salient points really quickly. So imagine you're kind of behind today. You've got this huge document that somebody sent to you. You've got 10 minutes till a meeting. Feed that to AI, and it can give you the one-page summary of what's in that thing. So it can help you to really understand and get through things a whole lot faster. The other thing that I think is really important is that AI can be a whole lot more interactive than traditional systems. So, if you've got, it's provided you some insights or a point on that, you can ask follow-up questions. It remembers the context of what you're doing there and understands the question. So it's giving you some insights on some data. You can ask a follow-up question. Traditionally, if you had business intelligence, you might have to ask a developer to go, hey, run a new report for me, or what's the results of this? And AI can do that just from answering a question.
Okay, I want to get into AI. I'm a CEO of a small, medium-sized business. What are the steps to take?
So I think the starting point is just identifying what problem you're trying to solve. It can be frustrating or confusing to just say, I want to do something with AI without having a concrete idea of what that might be. And we come across a lot of folks who are trying to solve this right now. As everybody talks about AI, AI seems to be very trendy, but what do I do with it? And so one of the things that we always talk through is what are the problems you face, and then identifying which ones would be a solution from AI. And in large parts because it should be a larger strategy for your business. So it's one thing to just, try AI and see how it goes. But the real meaningful, the valuable use of AI is finding ways to leverage it within your business that actually help you scale, serve customers better, reduce costs, all the core things you want to do from a business first perspective. As part of that, I'd say AI is only as good as the data you feed it. As I said earlier, things like ChatGPT are aware of what's on the internet, but a lot of what you do in terms of how you help your customers is not out on the internet. And so you really want to make sure that when you go to solve a problem, that you have the information available internally to be able to help AI get you there. So in terms of coming up with just a starting point of ideas, one thing you can do as an executive is try ChatGPT and ask it questions and just kind of see what the responses are, and then think through how that could be used in your particular organization or your business.
A couple of good things out of that. It's just some of the fundamentals don't change. The old adage in, application development, garbage in, garbage out. So it's the same thing with no matter what the tool is, whether you're using, Fortran, COBOL back in the day, or, the AI tool. So that's interesting too. And I'm sure when you guys go in and help clients in this, when they start identifying their problems, you guys probably come up with problems they haven't even thought of that probably are the real problems, I'm sure.
Does happen. Yeah.
AI is great, but there's now a lot of privacy, security, cybersecurity concerns. How do you balance that?
Yeah, that's a great question. As much as we encourage people to try things out, kind of what Jeremy talked about with ChatGPT and so forth, that's critical. But you need to have a certain amount of caution with that. We have an old adage in technology that if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And what that really means is that if you're sending some money every month, then that company has to make money somehow. So they're taking your data, whether that's Facebook or Instagram or something like that, and AI is no different than that. So if you're using a free tool, that means that they are, the data you're putting into that, they can continue training on that. And, that may be fine if you're trying to plan a vacation or, do some casual kinds of things like that. But if it's your business and you're uploading financial spreadsheets, that's not a good idea. So most AI models, have a paid tier, and what comes with that paid tier is a promise not to use your data for training, if you're using that tier. So, but the overall, the kind of core thing is, be very aware of data security and privacy. Every company should have some very explicit policies about how AI can be used, how it can be used, what tools are permissible, what information you can upload, and so forth. Just make sure that somebody, just trying to get, innovative or whatever, doesn't upload something that you really don't want out there, and things being trained on. So it's really important to be mindful that it's not just a free for all. You've got to have some guardrails around what you're doing.
Yeah, that makes total sense, and I would have never thought of that. But yeah, I mean, to secure your own data is obviously paramount for companies, so that's good to know. So you guys have been in the space for a while, but where are companies on the adoption curve in embracing AI?
Yeah, so the trend is up and to the right. Like I said, everybody is looking for a way to use AI. Certainly, the larger companies have been doing it for a while, but what's really happening with AI is it's getting cheaper. Every year that goes by, it's cheaper. The hardware and the services that are needed to bring AI to life are getting cheaper. There's more use cases around what you can do with it, but it's still kind of early on. It's a lot where e-commerce was when it first came out. And, as you look at it, for those that were first to e-commerce, the market was small, but quickly enlarged over time. And people got comfortable with, not going to a store and picking up a product or entering a credit card online, and the various things that made e-commerce different than your normal shopping habits. And nowadays, as everyone can see, there's e-commerce is in some ways overtaking retail. And clearly AI is not in that lane. But you can compare the two. There's the adoption curve there, and e-commerce has certainly taken off. AI is still in its early stages, and obviously, so some people aren't comfortable with it. But I see those that curve is going to change over time, and a lot of it is how do you find a way within your organization to do something to start engaging people through that channel, so that you can find other ways to explore it and use it to scale your company.
Yeah, I was just still amazed at how fast it's changing, and I'm glad we have experts like yourself that keep up with the changes and trends. But maybe talk a little bit and summarize the difference between the kind of the personal AI tools, ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, etc., versus the enterprise tools.
Not surprising, AI isn't just one thing out there. There's a lot of different nuances and variations to that, and you could get really deep into it to get all of those. But yeah, if you think about two broad classes of that, one would be personal AI tools, and the other would be enterprise class tools. So personal AI would be what I would call the things that we all know, ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude from Anthropic. All their general purpose, they're designed to be used by individuals, and they're really good for answering one-off questions. So each session may be a little bit different. They can learn from you over time, and there's some other things like that, but it's one-to-one with them, and again, a little bit more one-off. Enterprise tools, I would say, are a little more like classic software applications that you use in an organization. They're designed to automate specific processes over and over again. Going back to the accounts payable app thing we talked about before, where you've got something set up and it can process hundreds or thousands of accounts payable invoices every single month, over and over again. They can be pre-configured to access your company data, something that's known in the industry as retrieval augmented generation. They're tailored in advance to advance what the to configure what the company's doing. And so they're, again, one's just sort of an individual, helps one person to be more productive. Enterprise would be more, helps the whole organization to be more productive across all of its employee base.
And maybe in closing, like if you're talking to a CEO out there and you just met them at a cocktail party or wherever, what one piece of advice would you give them about incorporating AI into their standard business processes?
Yeah, so when those conversations come up, I mean, it usually comes in the midst of a conversation about AI is so big and there's so many things to do. What should we do? And so the first thing I would say is there is no one size fits all. Just because somebody did it one way doesn't mean you have to copy that. But on the other hand, you do want to start. And small steps are okay. Again, the adoption curve is slow. This is not going to happen overnight, but you do want to start with one thing. And you need to sort out, what is the one part of my business that could benefit from AI? And usually we give examples here. It could be things that are, there's a lot of manual tasks. There's a lot of information you need to be aware of, maybe some documentation, and pick that thing and then start to think through how can we drive that forward. What's happening, we're seeing, is that if you don't have a plan at all, if you're just in a wait and see mode, the folks across the street are looking into it. And if they take the baby step first, you don't want to be the one that gets left behind. And so this is, AI is not going to revolutionize everything in the next year or two, but it is going to start to evolve things. And those companies that take advantage of it will certainly benefit.
I love you guys, how you focus into the small and medium business space. And Jeremy and Greg, you've been great guests. Thank you for coming on the Corporate Couch today.
Hey, thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to this special edition of the Corporate Couch. If you enjoyed the episode, I would love for you to take 2 minutes out of your day to rate us 5 stars and write a review. Please join me weekly where I interview great leaders that share their career journey and their leadership wisdom.